There is a quiet moment each morning, a moment many of us rush past without noticing. It is the moment the world is still soft, when the sun has just begun to paint the sky, and our hearts have not yet been claimed by noise. In that moment, we are given a gift, the chance to choose who we will be today. Life does not transform in grand leaps. It transforms in the small decisions we make before the world awakens. Because your morning is not just the beginning of a day, it is the beginning of your direction, your mindset, your destiny. How you greet the morning is how you greet your life, and every sunrise is a reminder that you are allowed to begin again, to realign, to recenter, and to rise with purpose. Today, I want to talk to you about that powerful truth. Your morning decides your life, not because the morning holds magic on its own, but because it holds you, the clearest, truest version of you, before the world asks you to be anything else. There is a quiet truth hidden in the earliest hours of the day, a truth that often goes unnoticed because the world has taught us to rush, to run, to wake up already behind. But the morning was never meant to be a race. It was meant to be a return to yourself, to your essence, to the part of your soul that remembers what the noise of the world makes you forget. And when you reclaim your morning, you reclaim something far greater than time. You reclaim direction. You reclaim clarity. You reclaim the ability to decide how your inner world will unfold long before the outer world can influence it. Your morning is not simply the first part of your day. It is the compass that determines where your emotional, spiritual, and mental energy will travel. There is a reason why the first thoughts you allow into your mind hold so much weight. They are the soil in which the rest of your day will grow. If the soil is neglected, hardened, or filled with weeds, the seeds of peace cannot flourish. But when the soil is tended with intention, gentleness, and awareness, the entire landscape of your day changes. You begin to understand that inner stability is not built in the middle of chaos, but long before chaos arrives. What you choose to think, to feel, to invite in the quiet moments before the world demands your attention becomes the tone of your entire life. Because you do not live your life all at once, you live it moment by moment, and the morning is the first brushstroke on the canvas of your day. There are mornings when you wake up already feeling heavy, as if the weight of yesterday climbed into today without your permission. There are mornings when your heart feels scattered, tired, or uncertain. And it is in those mornings that your choices matter even more. Not because you must force yourself into positivity or perfection, but because you must understand the sacredness of those early decisions. You can choose to breathe before you react. You can choose silence before noise. You can choose gratitude before complaint. You can choose alignment before movement. You can choose nourishment before depletion. These choices may look small, almost insignificant, yet they are the very choices that create the architecture of an entire life. Imagine waking up and the very first thing you encounter is the world's noise. News, messages, demands, comparisons, fears, expectations. Imagine what that does to the heart. It fractures it before it even awakens. It pushes you into a day you did not choose, a pace you did not set, a mindset you did not consent to. You become reactive instead of intentional. But imagine instead that the first thing you encounter is your own breath, the stillness of your room, the softness of your thoughts. Imagine waking up slowly with awareness, allowing your soul to catch up with your body. Imagine beginning your day not by rushing outward, but by returning inward. This is the difference between a morning that controls you and a morning you consciously shape. And the difference between the two is the difference between a life lived in alignment and a life lived in exhaustion. The morning holds a mirror, and what you choose to see in that mirror determines how you step into your day. If you approach the mirror with harshness, impatience, or self-neglect, that energy follows you. But if you approach the morning with sincerity, with a quiet desire to show up fully and authentically, the mirror reflects something different. It reflects your intention. It reflects your willingness to choose meaning over mindlessness. It reflects your commitment to shaping your inner world before the outer world shapes you. And this is what it means for your morning to decide your life. You are not deciding the events that will occur today. You are deciding the state of the heart that will walk through those events. Many people underestimate the power of routine, thinking it is simply a list of tasks or habits. But a morning routine is not about the actions themselves. It is about the energy beneath them. It is about cultivating a rhythm that gently prepares your heart for the day ahead. When you wake up and choose to sit in stillness, you are not wasting time. You are strengthening your inner anchor. When you wake up and choose to read something uplifting or nourishing, you are feeding your mind something that will sustain you. When you wake up and choose to express gratitude, even in its smallest forms, you are training your heart to recognize abundance instead of scarcity. When you begin your day with reflection, you are choosing depth over distraction. And when you begin your day with prayer, with intention, with grounding, you are reminding your soul of where true guidance comes from. The morning is also the space where you meet your most honest self. Before the world's expectations, before the conversations, before the responsibilities, there is a version of you that is untouched, unpressured, unburdened. That version holds wisdom, clarity, and intuition that are often buried by the noise of the day. When you make space for that version of yourself, when you listen to your heart before you listen to the world, you begin to navigate your day from truth rather than from fear or obligation. And when your decisions are rooted in truth, your life begins to align gently, steadily, and authentically. There are people who wake up and immediately feel overwhelmed, believing the day is already too heavy. But often the heaviness is not from the day itself. It is from carrying yesterday into today without pause. The morning is the divine pause. It is the gentle invitation to release before you begin, to exhale what no longer belongs, to forgive what you cannot change, to soften what has grown tense, to reset what has become misaligned. You cannot build a peaceful day upon an unrested heart. Your morning is the time given to you to tend to that heart, to offer it the gentleness you rarely receive from the outside world. When you begin your day by caring for your inner world, you create a foundation strong enough to carry whatever the day brings. The morning also determines the emotional direction of your day. If you begin with resentment, the day feels unfair. If you begin with fear, the day feels threatening. If you begin with hurry, the day feels chaotic. But if you begin with gratitude, the day feels abundant. If you begin with reflection, the day feels meaningful. If you begin with gentleness, the day feels spacious. The emotions you allow in the first moments after waking are not fleeting. They are guiding forces. They influence the tone of your thoughts, the openness of your heart, the quality of your interactions, and the softness of your responses. You are not simply waking up. You are choosing the emotional lens through which you will view your entire day. There is also a spiritual dimension to the morning that cannot be ignored. When the world is still quiet and the distractions have not yet scattered your attention, the heart is most receptive. It is in these early hours that guidance settles more easily, clarity arrives more softly, and truth feels closer. When you begin your day with spiritual grounding, whatever form that takes for you, you are not walking into the world alone. You are walking with an awareness that you are supported, that you are guided, that you are held. This awareness changes how you deal with challenges, how you speak, how you listen, how you breathe through difficulty. You begin to respond instead of react, trust instead of fear, surrender instead of control. Your morning shapes your mindset, and your mindset shapes your life. If you consistently begin your day with doubt, worry, or comparison, those thoughts accumulate until they become beliefs. But if you consistently begin your day with clarity, intention, and grounding, those practices accumulate until they become your nature. Your morning is the training ground for your inner world. It is where discipline meets compassion, where intention meets action, where clarity meets practice. And over time, these morning moments, small, simple, ordinary, become the unseen architects of your character. They become the habits that sustain you, the mindset that guides you, the strength that carries you. Even the simple act of waking up with awareness can change your entire relationship with your day. Instead of allowing your mind to run before your body rises, you choose to wake gently, consciously, gratefully. You choose to acknowledge the gift of another day, another chance, another beginning. You choose to sit in the moment between sleep and wakefulness and recognize that you have been given time, and time is one of the most powerful gifts you will ever receive. When you understand that each morning is a new invitation to show up differently, to be more aligned, to be more grounded, your life becomes a series of chosen moments instead of accidental ones. And perhaps the most empowering truth is this: your morning is yours. No matter how unpredictable your day is, no matter how demanding your schedule, no matter how chaotic your responsibilities, the morning, even if only a few minutes, is a space the world cannot take from you unless you offer it away. You may not control everything that happens today, but you can control how you arrive in it. You can control the energy you bring, the intention you hold, the direction you set. And that direction begins the moment you open your eyes. When you honor your morning, you honor your life. Because your morning is not just a beginning, it is the place where you decide who you are becoming. And that decision is the most powerful one you will make each day. There is a quiet momentum that begins the moment you wake, long before you speak, long before you step into the world, long before anyone else knows who you are that day. It is the unseen current beneath your thoughts, the subtle direction in which your heart leans, the emotional tone that shapes the flow of your choices. Many people think momentum is something external, something created by action, movement, or busyness. But the truth is that momentum begins internally in the stillness of your morning, when your heart and mind are most open to influence. That is why the first choices you make, even the smallest ones, hold the power to shape not only your day, but the way you respond to life itself. Your morning is where your choices gather strength. It is where tiny decisions accumulate, building the direction your day will take. If the morning is scattered, the day becomes scattered. If the morning is heavy with stress, the day becomes burdened by it. But when the morning is intentional, the day becomes aligned. When the morning is anchored, the day becomes grounded. When the morning begins with clarity, your choices throughout the day follow that clarity. You start to understand that momentum is not created by rushing, but by directing your inner energy through conscious choice. The morning is where you choose the energy that will guide you, and that energy becomes the lens through which every later decision is made. There is a kind of emotional inertia that forms in the early hours. The thoughts you allow, the emotions you nurture, the tone you choose, these become the undercurrent of your day. If you begin your morning with comparison, that comparison follows you. If you begin with anxiety, your choices become fueled by fear. If you begin with resentment, your interactions become tinted with defensiveness. But if you begin your morning with gratitude, your choices become guided by abundance. If you begin with reflection, your decisions become thoughtful. If you begin with intention, your day becomes purposeful. The momentum of your morning becomes the direction of your choices, and the direction of your choices becomes the direction of your life. Many people underestimate how profoundly the earliest minutes shape the rest of the day because the shifts are subtle. They do not announce themselves. They do not feel dramatic, but subtlety is where real transformation happens. When you open your eyes and the first thing you do is reach for noise, social media, messages, obligations, you are giving your momentum away before you even begin. You are allowing the world to decide your tone, your priority, your pace. Oh, when you open your eyes and the first thing you reach for is stillness, gratitude, or intention, you are reclaiming your momentum. You are deciding the emotional and mental rhythm that will guide your choices, and that is a powerful form of self-leadership. Momentum is like a quiet river. It does not force itself upon you. It builds gradually, gently, persistently. If you step into the morning with heaviness, the river flows heavy. If you step into the morning with clarity, the river flows clear. If you step into the morning with presence, the river flows steady. And because you walk through your day with that same river beneath you, your choices become shaped by whatever current you began with. This is why two people can face the same challenge and respond in completely different ways. One responds from hurry, fear, or frustration because that was the momentum they created for themselves in the morning. The other responds with calm, patience, or insight because that was the momentum they nurtured when the day was still young. There is a form of self-sabotage that happens when the morning is ignored. When you neglect your inner world in the first moments after waking, you hand the steering wheel of your day to whatever external force arrives first. Something or someone else becomes the initiator of your momentum. Your emotions become reactive instead of intentional. Your decisions become rushed instead of rooted. You find yourself moving through the day without direction, making choices that do not align with your deeper values, simply because you started the morning uncentered. But when you claim your morning as the space where you choose your direction, you shift from reacting to guiding, from drifting to steering, from surviving to showing up with purpose. Momentum is not about speed, it is about alignment. You can move quickly and still be directionless. You can accomplish many tasks and still feel as though you have not moved at all. But when your morning choices align with your values, your inner state, and your intention, even small actions carry meaning. You begin to move through your day with a sense of direction that is not forced but natural, not anxious but grounded. This alignment begins in the morning when your heart is most impressionable, when your mind is most receptive, when your emotions are closest to their natural state. Imagine beginning your morning by sitting in reflection instead of rushing into tasks. Imagine choosing one grounding thought, one sincere intention, one quiet moment of gratitude. This single act begins a momentum that carries into every part of your day. You find yourself choosing patience over irritation, clarity over confusion, presence over distraction. Your choices are no longer reactive impulses, they become extensions of the energy you set in the morning. And when your choices arise from grounded momentum, they lead you to outcomes that reflect your truest self. This is how your morning determines not just what you do, but how you do it. And that difference becomes the difference between a life lived in alignment and a life lived in struggle. Even the smallest morning rituals carry profound influence. The act of making your bed is not simply tidying, it is choosing order. The act of drinking water is not simply hydration, it is choosing nourishment. The act of breathing intentionally is not simply relaxation, it is choosing to anchor yourself before the world can pull you in different directions. The act of reflecting, praying, or journaling is not simply expression, it is choosing direction for your heart. These choices build momentum, and that momentum becomes the emotional and mental pattern you carry with you. You begin to understand that the morning is not just a time of day, it is the birthplace of the person you are becoming. There are mornings when your heart wakes up with heaviness, when yesterday's pain lingers, when your mind feels clouded. In these moments, the temptation is to push yourself into productivity, to drown the heaviness with movement, to escape into distraction. But heaviness does not dissolve through avoidance, it softens through presence. And the morning is the most powerful time to meet your heaviness with compassion. When you choose gentleness instead of self-pressure, when you allow yourself to feel without judgment, when you offer yourself patience instead of demand, you create a momentum that transforms the way you navigate hardship throughout the day. You begin to move through challenges with a stronger center, not because the challenge has changed, but because you have changed the momentum with which you face it. Your morning momentum affects the way you speak to others. If you begin in chaos, your words carry chaos. If you begin in peace, your words carry peace. Your morning momentum affects the decisions you make. If you begin disconnected, your choices come from confusion. If you begin connected, your choices come from clarity. Your morning momentum affects the opportunities you recognize. When your mind is cluttered, opportunities remain unseen. When your mind is grounded, opportunities become visible. This momentum becomes the invisible force guiding the hundreds of decisions you make throughout the day. Decisions that might seem small, but actually shape the trajectory of your life. There is an emotional intelligence that grows when the morning is intentional. You become more aware of your triggers, more mindful of your responses, more connected to your intuition. You begin to notice that pause between emotion and action, and within that pause lies the power to choose. That pause becomes larger, clearer, more accessible when your morning creates the momentum of awareness. Without that momentum, you rush through the day, reacting to everything around you. With it, you move through the day choosing your responses, shaping your interactions, and guiding your own emotional landscape. This is how inner freedom is built, not in grand gestures, but in the gentle morning choices that influence the flow of your entire day. The morning also shapes the momentum of your discipline. Discipline is often misunderstood as force, rigidity, or perfectionism. But true discipline is consistency born from intention. It is the willingness to show up even in small ways, especially when motivation fades. Your morning creates the momentum for that discipline. When you begin your day by honoring even one small commitment to yourself, you strengthen your ability to honor larger commitments later. When you begin your day by keeping a gentle promise to yourself, you train your mind to trust your own direction. This trust becomes the foundation of disciplined living, not from harshness, but from alignment. And that alignment begins in the morning. There is a deep inner strength that grows when your morning nurtures the momentum of clarity. You begin to move through your day knowing what truly matters instead of being pulled by everything that doesn't. You begin to recognize which choices align with your purpose and which distract you. You become more intentional with your time, more mindful with your words, more thoughtful with your energy. You are no longer driven by urgency or pressure. You are guided by direction. And that direction was chosen not accidentally, but intentionally, in the quiet moments when the day was still forming. Sometimes people ask why their days feel chaotic, why their emotions feel unpredictable, why their decisions feel disconnected from who they want to be. The answer often lies in the morning. When the morning lacks intention, the day lacks stability. When the morning lacks clarity, the day lacks purpose. When the morning lacks grounding, the day lacks direction. But when you reclaim your morning, even the smallest part of it, you begin to reclaim your life. You begin to live from intention rather than impulse. You begin to shape your choices instead of being shaped by your circumstances. You begin to build a life that flows from your inner truth rather than from external noise. Your morning determines the momentum of your choices because it is your first opportunity to choose who you will be today. And that choice, made consistently, becomes a pattern. That pattern becomes a habit. That habit becomes a mindset. And that mindset becomes your life. Your morning is the root from which your choices grow. And when the root is tended with intention, the branches of your life stretch in the direction of purpose, clarity, and alignment. There is a quiet moment in every morning when the world has not yet begun to pull at you, when your responsibilities are still asleep, when the noise has not yet found you. In that moment, you are given something precious, a space to anchor yourself before the day carries you into its shifting tides. It is in this space that your purpose waits to be remembered, not in loud declarations or dramatic realizations, but in gentle whispers that call you back to what truly matters. The morning, in its stillness, gives you a chance to align yourself with your purpose before the world distracts you from it. This anchoring is not a luxury. It is a necessity for a life lived with clarity and intention. Purpose is not something you chase. It is something you return to. And the morning is your first return. Before you step into the outer world, you are invited to return to your inner world, to reconnect with the deeper meaning behind your actions, to remind yourself why you do what you do and who you are choosing to become. Without this return, it is easy to move through life disconnected from your deeper self, reacting to every demand, losing sight of what gives your life direction. But when you anchor your purpose in the morning, your actions throughout the day no longer feel scattered. They no longer feel empty. They no longer feel like motions without meaning. They feel rooted, intentional, and guided. There is a kind of spiritual grounding that happens when you choose to begin your morning with reflection rather than distraction. When you take a moment to ask yourself, what matters today? What deserves my heart? What deserves my time? What deserves my energy? These questions are not small, they are foundational. They set the tone for everything that follows. Without them, you give your day away to whatever arrives first. Someone's frustration, someone's demand, someone's urgency. But with them, you claim your day with purpose. You decide what will guide you, rather than being pulled into 1,000 different directions that have nothing to do with your deeper values. The morning helps you remember what your life is really about, because it brings you back to simplicity. The world complicates things. It tells you to chase what others expect. It pressures you to meet standards that exhaust your soul. It pulls your attention toward distractions that make you forget who you are beneath the noise. But the morning has a way of stripping all of that away. When the world is still quiet, you can hear your own heart again. You can hear the truth of what you need, of what you want, of what aligns.